So here, for this one, the biggest issue that I would change is the size of the nose. That was the biggest issue. The nose read as really, really large. So let me shrink that. That has to be way small. So that was the first problem that we saw, is that the nose was just a little bit large and we were reading the largeness of the nose from a distance. So shrinking it just a little bit made it kind of match the face it was coming from. So just let me make it like neutral or whatnot. Okay, so before, after, just unusually large in the nose. And I think that beauty factors and beauty signatures and the students unaware, like the students being unaware of what's beautiful and what's not, is hindering their work. A lot of them will say, well, I intended that to happen. No, you didn't. It was an accident. Everyone knows it was an accident. You yourself did not choose for it to be a deliberately large nose. That's not something you chose. That was something that happened on its own. Misguided facts, whatever, what have you, it led to the nose being larger. If she was a character that you were hired to make who had an unusually large nose, at that point we can't really say anything. The nose has to stay large if she's some large-nosed aristocrat. I didn't read the character, like the description that came with it, but this is definitely a suggestion I want to make. Now, about the clothes plus the gesture plus the costume. So like the role plus the costume itself plus the gesture. So these are the three things you have to think about: role, costume, and the gesture. All of these things are supposed to be telling the same story. If the role is a warrior, kind of assassin character, or ranger, I think it was, the mage. Oh, a mage. So her gesture has to say mage, her costume, the units you put together have to say mage, and the role itself is what starts it all. So if she's a mage, you got the whole druid cloak good. That's reading very, very well. I'm thinking a mage would live in the forest. They probably want to give them a more natural colored dress, something a little bit more like in relation to nature. If they're like the kinds that are always on their feet traveling, they probably want to have camouflage in the clothing they wear. So they would wear something that's a little bit more akin to the cloaks from Lord of the Rings. But this is fine for me, but this is not the gesture. The gesture does not speak mage. If I was a mage and I was walking through the woods, I'd probably always be ready to just whip my hand out and just do a quick spell. So this is something that, you have to show that this person is on their guard, has their guard up. So I would recommend this kind of gesture, something probably a little bit more cautious with the head just a little bit low, and then you have the cloak, something just a little bit more natural like that. If they're outside, show us a breeze that's going through their cloak. This feels a lot more natural than this ballerina or cute look. If you were painting, the only time this gesture that you've drawn applies to the costume is this one here, where she's supposed to be probably curtsying or dancing the noble. Alright, so that's something that I definitely would keep that gesture with. As for the costume itself, when you do have this silhouette that you made, the silhouette is a little bit squared off. We do need to see a thinner waist in the silhouette. It's a very just normal female thing, but with the corset, so to wear this kind of dress, you need a corset. This corset tucks in the waist all the way. And this was the dress of the time, to have a really, really thin waist and it's just massive butt. Enough that the corset comes with a little bit of a wiring that has those little wings on either side that carries the dress up and keeps it high. So this would really be necessary here. And then a little bit of extra volume near the bottoms. But that would be the only thing I would change. And as for the merchant, this gesture does not apply to them. A merchant is someone that's always on their feet, always selling, always showing off. And I don't think this feels like she was more like a dancer or an acrobat or some sort of circus performer. I would not see the fact that they were a merchant unless I looked at the name. So essentially, when you have gesture, costume, and the role all in sync, you don't need the title under the word, under the drawing. You don't need those words under the drawing. The read should happen right away, so it's an instant read if these are synced. Instant read, sync, instant, I don't know. Don't read that in order. And that's my biggest critique for this. So great job having the gesture, but I recommend editing the gesture for the role. I recommend the rethinking what merchants wear. This seems like something that I would give to some sort of noble child. This is the kind of dress that they would wear. Prepubescent boys and girls would wear in the court. It feels very noble. These colors aren't easy to come by. Both of these are always on their feet and traveling. They probably need something to help them against the conditions and weather. It doesn't feel like this is a traveler, and it doesn't feel like she felt like a traveler, but the gesture was just very feminine. It didn't feel like a mage. It didn't feel like someone who's always on their feet, who has a bunch of knowledge and isn't held captive by the daily vices of everyone else. So a mage is kind of on a higher intellectual level than all the other characters. And how do we represent that? By a brooding state, by a state that reflects thought. And them prancing around like this doesn't reflect thought. It doesn't inspire intimidation in me as the viewer. So if I was designing this character for, let's say they were making a new League of Legends character and it's supposed to be a wandering mage, in their League splash, I would not use this gesture at all. So this gesture is all wrong for this and this. It's just all wrong. If I was designing a merchant, kind of like a tinkerer, like Hammerdinger or something, of course I would not give them, but a female, I would not give them this kind of gesture. If I was designing some sort of smart aleck or that one black spider that is really troublesome in, it's like an African lore, Anaxi, I think he's called. But if I was drawing that kind of character, just like a general troublemaker traveling through the land, a demon in the shape of a human, but a female, and she goes around tricking people, this is the perfect gesture for that. Because they look like they're having fun, they look like they're witty, tiptoeing around people's emotions, tiptoeing around people and confusing and deceiving them. A demon-like, but very playful demon-like gesture. This is perfect for that. So you have to become aware of the different languages of gestures. Please write that back to me. Becoming more aware of what gesture says, what a gesture speaks. It's all in acting. This is something that, don't say that I'm making this up. This is something that actors do. Actors learn gestures. Actors learn about what reads in the camera and what doesn't. Gladiator, what's his name's Gladiator? Or the movie Gladiator, when he was standing around, he would not be in this kind of position if he was in the middle of war. He would not be, even if he was, at his best dressed in a royal party, he would not be standing around like this. The princess in that movie as well, in Gladiator, that one Priscilla or whatever her name is in the movie Gladiator, the one that one dude is in, I forget his name. Uh, Ridley Scott's Gladiator, I think that's the director. She would never dress. She would never stand like this. You have to show nobility in the gesture as much as you show her femininity. So let's see if I can find that one gesture. Gladiator tent images. I hope I find it. When she's standing around. She's flirtatious. Oh my God, she's being flirtatious. So she's standing around like a noble woman, but she also has like this lean about her and this asymmetry in her lean. So she was standing like that, looking through the curtain, and it was a very convincing, beautiful, full read gesture that really explained her role. She was like a kind of a, a noble woman with a sense of humor, but that was very intelligent, very smart past her age and past her gender, so they said in the story. Um, so this is what I mean. The gesture, you can't just copy paste the gesture and change the costume. Character design is about everything speaking a language. It's about the gesture, the costume, the expression, the artifacts, the details, everything. Articles of clothing, everything that you're using are applicable here, and they speak the language. So understand and memorize the roles and the language of gestures for your character design concepts. In the next challenge, we might have a character design, but I'm not sure entirely if that's held. I think we should keep going with the environment. So the next challenge might be another environment, because we haven't been covering enough of environments lately and a lot of portraiture. So it would be nice if we kept going with the. Also, we haven't covered a lot of figure drawing and gestures, to be honest. So that might be the next challenge as well. We'll see. I'll run a vote. This face here feels like a mask. It does not feel like a human face. This is not human. So I really, really hope that he is wearing a mask. I hope this is not the goatee and these are the eyes. I hope that this cutoff point right here is a mask. I don't think there was anything in the description explaining whether or not this was a mask or not, but I really don't. If it's a mask, I can't tell you where to start with your 14-day challenges, but if it is supposed to be a face, you have a lot of work ahead of you with how to paint a face and how to get a face to read from a distant point. A lot of talk about the skeleton and how the skeletal geometry protrudes through the skin and the flesh, and how to get that awesome read from a distance in a character that's in a full vertical environment. So this is not a portrait, so we don't have the luxury of detail. This is zoomed out and has a landscape behind it, so we have to get that face to read right away. I hope this is a mask. If it isn't, please consider doing a 14-day challenge. There are amazing people in the community always providing their feedback, and it's amazing feedback. A lot of them are graduates already of the 14-day challenge. But if it is, if it is a face, please get on that. As for the rest of the image, I think you should, it's really awesome to see that you're going for, trying to fill a canvas up. And I fully believe you can fill a canvas. Filling the canvas isn't the challenge here. Anyone can put items in a canvas and fill it up from edge to edge. But really the biggest challenge is successfully having a read, focusing the focal points, creating a successful composition. The square canvas is doing nothing for you. Either make it vertical or horizontal. Those have the best read and the best delivery of the story. Also, you have a lot of issues here with textures. You're painting with a single width pixel brush. You're early in your journey, and that's fine, and I think it's awesome that you're trying to fill a canvas up. But I used to do that as well, and I'll tell you, I used to force myself to fill canvases. I used to draw the clouds. I used to draw every single little bead of a necklace, and all of that was just going in the wrong direction. I never really studied the sciences. So a 14-day challenge really strips you of the color, of the hair, of any extra little props and articles of clothing that might make it seem like the image is finished, and filling the canvas. It doesn't let you depend on tools. What it forces you to do is focus only on the science and biology of and the form and the physics of painting a face. It removes the hair, removes the color, and forces you to learn how to paint a face. Really spot on and focused study method. So that is something I recommend for you if this wasn't a mask. If it was a mask as well, try the 14-day challenge anyway. And then we have this piece, which is, let me see if I can read it. She just cracked a tree open and she's saying, "Come with me, I'll help you home." That's what I'm reading. She like just destroyed something and saving the person that's looking at her. The reason why this is not that successful a piece, even though the placement is really awesome, you've got that asymmetry going, and if we just try to map that out, or wherever we end up having that focal point, or she would have to be the focal point, we have a really nice composition happening here. It's a little bit off. It's just a little bit off, but still there seems to be some kind of. I really like seeing this blast here from the side. However, the blast seems to be coming out of nowhere. She doesn't seem to have just thrown the blast on. It's not like she has that gesture where she is, haunched forward and the sword, and then she just cut right through everything. So that's not what's happening. It's a very relaxed, closed gesture. So this is a closed gesture right now. It's not an open gesture. So it doesn't mean she just exploded something or cut through something. There's also a detail problem. You shrunk the brush all the way, zoomed all the way in, and painted these little bits here, which is the biggest mistake. It felt like there was something on my screen, because that's how thinly you painted this tattoo on her face. I thought there was like a little hair or something or dust on my screen. It was so unusually detailed out of nowhere. It was just detailed out of nowhere. It was just sudden detail. Also, this extensive detail, if you remember that rule of thirds I just drew, that was completely outside. This detail is demanding attention, and it doesn't deserve that attention because it's nowhere near the focal point. Anywhere where you have a portrait and a character, the focal point is the portrait and anything on the character, and the most detailed being the character himself or herself. This is also unusually detailed compared to the eyes. The eyes should have spent more time on them. So I'm just blurring all of these things out. You have a lot of lines left over, and we really need to get rid of those lines. This is just another one of those common beginner mistakes. So you can call this a class about common beginner mistakes, I guess, because these are all the same mistakes that we see all the time, and they come out of not enough mileage in studies. They come out of a problem where the student is trying masterpieces too soon. There's nothing wrong with challenging yourself and trying to fill a canvas from edge to edge, but as you can see, it results in the same issues. Not enough time invested in the core sciences of the thing, and then they wonder why their work doesn't look realistic. The hand gesture seems a little bit forced and unusual. You could provide us with a little bit more detail. I feel like you're forcing us to see the side instead of seeing the foreshortened version, where we would see only the tip of the finger and then the palm. It would be cooler if we could see that. And then we see the side of this finger. Just pick up a good reference and copy it. That's exactly what I did with my painting. I can't draw hands as well as I can draw faces, but that's at that point, it's a signal to start picking up a reference. And the closer you work with references, the more professional your work will look altogether. So that's another beginner mistake, trying to do it all on your own, trying to do it with your own imagination and your own visual library, which will not be successful or as successful as as working with a reference. So these eyes are a little bit small for the beauty. Her face is a little bit masculine, which leads us into our next painting, this one here. Alright, so I'm going to start with the eyes, go straight in with the eyes. And that's what I'm going to enlarge first. If I want her to look like a female, this is what I have to enlarge. Even if she was a tomboy who dropped all roles of a female in society and went into the army to lead people, or just to be a soldier, or just to escape from the social responsibilities of her upbringing, she would still look like a girl. It would not be that she changed, her bone structure would change. If she was born a woman, she'll have the female signatures of beauty, and these will read right away. Alright, next up would be the width and the distance between each eye, and this I can do in Liquify. That rhymed. Alright, so I'm going to give the eyes a slant downward. And just give the brows some of that arc that happens with females. I'm also going to thin the brow out. Female eyebrows have less hair on them. Even when they're hairy, it's less hair generally and more shapely than male brows, especially because of what reads today as a female versus what read 1,000 years ago as a female. All of it always involved some kind of editing in the eyebrows. I'm really not sure about what's happening here. I feel like she's just, I don't know why she's biting her lip. If she's angry, or really confusing gestures here, facial gesture. I'm not sure exactly what's happening. But we need to just fix the bone structure next. These massive brows here are really what gave it away for her to feel more like a male. So that massive brow structure. Female cheekbones are a little bit higher than male cheekbones and more round. The female face also has a much thinner jawline, much less defined, and a smaller mouth altogether. starting to look a little bit more like a female. And just touching up on all of this stuff. The nose was just a little bit high. Even in that perspective, it was a little bit high. So a lot of stuff here. You might as well just change this character into a male. Let this one go and try another painting that is a little bit more focused and more. You put a little bit more thought into the measurements between each feature. So not always, as long as you have other things that people can read as female. No, that's not how it works. You have to make sure you have the read in the biology. If you don't know how to draw a female face, you need to go study how to draw a female face. You can't depend on objects to render it for you. You can't just learn the basics of an eye, a nose, and a mouth and think that you are a portrait artist. You have to be able to measure the nuances and the distances and the separations between every single feature, and what that and the subtle differences between the genders of those features. So whoever here is saying, okay, that's not important, they're wrong. It's absolutely important. So this nose is a little strong. It feels very masculine, like a Liam Neeson nose. So I'm just going to give that a little bit more of a slender face. And please go ahead and online and search the differences between the faces for people who go through hormone therapy, sex changes. They take testosterone or estrogen for a year and their whole body just changes. Of course, they do have to have surgery to remove sexual organs, but that also assists in the hormone therapy. And that's where all these changes in the body come from your hormones, and that's really the genders of that's where it all comes from. So before, after, and there's a lot more to change. This laugh line here is giving the character some age, so we're gonna go and get rid of that. I don't think you were going for an old character. The top of their nose needs a little bit more light right at the top of it. This jawline is still a little bit strong, so I'm just going to blend it. You also need more blending and more gradients on a female face than you do a male face. Male faces can have just a little bit more. I'm really not sure what this whole mouth thing is all about, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Let you put that in later as you need it. We're just trying to look at the masses and differences between the sizes right now. So I'm going to give the lip back its shape, just so we can talk about the size of the lip and know exactly how wide everything is supposed to be. Okay. The canvas was a little bit small for this character's head, so this caused the head to be a little bit flat at the top. I'm so sure you might have been aiming for a male character. You had to have been. It's just, I don't know. Alright. When we go back here, we add a little bit of extra light under the eyebrow. This is, again, another signature of female beauty, having that arched brow. Male characters don't really have this extra little space under the brows. They have pretty straight eyebrows. Again, just some referencing will help prove this to you. These are some major issues that call on, for you to invest in some studies. They demand some study. These issues, these mistakes don't just disappear on their own over time. They will stick with you. These are bad habits. And they will change the way you draw. Those little tails you have at the edge of the mouth are also more bad habits that you should get rid of. You should only have flesh. You shouldn't have those tails at the end. This is symbolic. I'm gonna give the lips some darkness, just a little. Give these cheeks some highlight. Now it feels like a female. The neck is still really long. and really large. So I'm not sure what the gesture is. She's probably looking in the distance, thinking about the person who gave her that necklace or something or other. This is what happens when you don't do enough studies. These mistakes are avoidable. You can make all these mistakes off screen, not in front of the audience. You can make these mistakes elsewhere. Somewhere safe, somewhere more student friendly, which is that sandbox environment, that really friendly learning environment of the 14-day challenge, or any other study method, form study, any other still life study or anatomy study, just as long as you're not trying to turn that study into a masterpiece. Stop worshiping every painting you draw. Stop pretending that every painting you draw has to be turned into something that represents you permanently as the artist in your career. This is not your career yet. You haven't started your career. Leave the masterpieces for your career, for that portfolio that you're going to be, dressing up later and showing off to potential employers, or on your website, or for your final project that you want to release and publish. Leave your portfolio for that. Leave your masterpieces for that. Right now, it's all study. It's humble study. So take off your fancy evening clothes and just put on your study clothes and just study. Just put on those clothes for a while. And just tighten your belt and get on with the mileage expected of you as a student. No one else is going to say this to you, and this is why I'm not sugarcoating my words. These kinds of mistakes are avoidable entirely. You'll be able to do it and execute a more successful painting the more of these studies you invest in. So the head was very large compared to the hand. Now it's a little too small, because the hand is supposed to be in the foreground. It feels like she's resting her hand on her armor, because take a look at this cast shadow. This cast shadow would not happen unless the hand was much closer to the armor. Also, the gesture of the hand is extremely awkward. Some gesture lines and a quick sketch underneath everything would have saved you all that correction later when you have all this detail to edit. Especially if this is all on the same canvas. So before, after. That extra little bite on the mouth, I'm not sure. It just feels like he's going, like he's like biting his mouth and looking up over a fence. I feel like he's trying to look over a fence. That's the gesture. That's all I'm reading. So there was a fence and he's trying to look over the fence. It really wasn't a contemplative tilt back, which takes a lot more thinking and a lot more referencing. So the head was much larger and very long. And the face did not look like a female tomboy. Now she looks like a female tomboy. There's other things you can do to make her look even more like a tomboy. Get rid of that darkness on her lip, and just give her that neutral lip color. Give her some shadow under her eye, so no extra makeup lying around. Give her some extra pigmentation around her nose, so no foundation, no makeup, no Maybelline. Okay. There are no MAC kiosks in this army, in this barracks. So she's not going to be able to put on any makeup. Her eyebrows should be just a little hairy, so a little extra shadow in between. And she'll look like a male. She'll look like not a male, she'll look masculine, a more masculine looking female. And that's what's going to make that read happen. The hand itself, again, feels very unnatural and very forced and very awkward. Make the studies fun. Exactly. What's more, everything that I've ever drawn until this day, even those things that I've put on my portfolio, I consider them studies. Every one of these, there are mistakes in everything that I draw. If I could show you my portfolio, I don't like showing my portfolio while I teach. I don't like opening up my gallery at all. If you know me, you know why. I hate my work. But that's because we're always learning. We have to learn to kill our babies. I'm sorry. You have to let go. You gotta let it go. You let go of the fact that you can't paint a full masterpiece yet. Don't force it. Don't be in denial, because at this point it's only denial. And to be very frank with you, as frank as a doctor is, you have to drop the masterpieces, drop the full illustrations, and please go into some studying for a short stretch of time, and try come back to masterpieces and tell me that you haven't improved, because you will have. Okay. Doing studies will relieve you from frustrations for a while at Daisy. You're going to make mistakes when learning. Just don't make the same ones. Learn from the mistakes and advance. Um, Not through every masterpiece. Don't wait for every masterpiece for you to make a mistake. Why not do some really easy offhand sketches and studies instead of masterpieces, and make as many mistakes? For me, I don't know when my next masterpiece or attempted masterpiece is going to be. It's probably going to be next month. Me personally, Istebrak, me personally. I don't know when my next masterpiece is going to be. I can't wait until that time to make a mistake. I can't wait another month and a half before I actually finally decide to make another mistake in my work. I have to make the mistake now. I have to do some studies now, do some sketches, do some whatever, just keep my hands busy. Make sure that I'm drawing every single day on a gray background without too much creative force and creative pressure. As soon as there's creative pressure, I'm no longer studying scientifically. I can no longer teach. I have to run classes every day. So if I don't get in my study zone, I can't teach the study zone. So the study zone, the study mentality is the first thing you need to dress yourself with. That's the jacket that you put on. Wear your study clothes in your head. Inside your brain, just choose the study wardrobe. All right? And get off that whatever that is that's driving you to make full masterpieces. Don't get yourself caught up in jobs you can't perform for yet, and you'll find yourself improving at a faster rate, much faster than if you're waiting for your next masterpiece. So much hate has been sent to my channel because I've told people to just stop it with the masterpieces, and they take it so personally. But honestly, I think all those people were like 15 years and younger. I don't think any of these people were older, wiser people, because they themselves, I'm sure, have come to the conclusion, walk before you run. All right. So let's see what everyone's saying. Every attempt in anything is worth it, so you can do better next time. So this so should I not do the environment challenge? Of course you should do the environment challenge. The environment challenge isn't me telling you guys to make masterpieces. It's me telling you to try something new, try a new study. This is why I forced you to do 3 grayscale thumbnails. Those are all studies. Those are all studies. You're studying that. I give you references. I give you inspirational pieces. That's how everyone should study. I'm trying to trick you into thinking like students for all of this, for all of these challenges. So the before and after here, especially because you were aiming for a female, is way too big. The before and after is way too big a change. And for us to help you move along, you have to memorize the female signatures of beauty and the male signatures of beauty. You have to know the difference between the elf and the ogre. To make everything feel more organic, you have to read off references and know exactly what this type of nose does in this perspective. um, Kill your babies. The saying is kill your darlings, but Issa is savage. Kill your darlings seems like such an old age way to say it. Um, these are like babies. There are babies. We give birth to them. We go through great labor to give birth to these paintings, and that's really what I'm coming from. When I was younger, I was told to stop with the masterpieces, and I hated hearing that, but I can honestly agree it was hindering the process a lot, the progress. Yes, it was. It's too slow a process for you to make enough mistakes to improve over time faster. So in a year, you'll improve better if all you're doing is studies than in a year of masterpieces with one masterpiece every 3 months. That's how I did it. I'm trying to tell you, because this is how I did it growing up. These are the mistakes I made. I didn't go to school. I had to make all these terrible mistakes on my own, and this is me telling you not to do these things. These are things that I did. Do you guys want to see something? I don't think I can actually show this without crying, but I can show you some of my old shit. You're all gonna laugh at me. Let me show you. Some of these are way before I started teaching. So you know, it's gonna be painful. to take a, oh my God, I was such a noob. I can't even show you this stuff. It's terrible. It's terrible. Oh man, I'm just in pain just looking at them. Fuck. Okay. So some of these aren't even that old. Oh my God. All right, all right, all right. So, oh my Lord, God, give me strength. Give me strength, Lord. All right. So this is one page. It's been a long time ago, and I had never done this. Oh my jeez. Oh my God. Help me, Lord. Help me. Give me patience. Give me strength. Oh God. I have to take off my glasses and just give me a moment, please. This was the first time I don't think I had a reference for this. I don't remember. I think I did. Oh my God, I made all the mistakes, all of them. This was the first time oh my God, I'm blushing. I tried an upturned perspective. I can't even look at the screen. I'm like looking away. um, yeah, and I didn't. This I waited for my next masterpiece, which was this, to try a perspective, a face in this perspective, and I thought it was the shit. I was like, oh yeah, I'm an artist. I'm so good. This was like 4, 6, 7 years. I forget. It was a long time ago. Um, really, really long ago. This was another portrait I painted a long time ago. Oh my God, it's so garbage. But if you asked me back then, I'd be like, yeah, I'm an artist. I'm such a good artist. But now that I look at it, I know that this is just one momentary shot, one momentary frame in my journey. It was just one momentary screenshot of my artistic journey. It was not a masterpiece because I was not yet a master. So I'm telling you, cut with the masterpieces, cut them up, man. Kill your darlings, as they say. And be ready to look at your work a year from now, 3 months from now, and think, oh my God, this is garbage. And I look back at my work now, and I drew these, like in January, and I'm still thinking they look like, yeah, that they still look really bad. So be aware that this will happen to you. Be aware that it's okay to have this massive a jump between the before and after. There are mistakes to be made. There are many mistakes to be made. And the difference between the student and the master is that the master's made more mistakes than you, that they've done enough studies that they've made way more mistakes than you have. That's what got them to that. Every mistake was a step. Thanks for watching today, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.